Association. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to the board and our town administrator for the work that you do in what is probably the most difficult time in the history of North Reading town government. These difficult times require creative thinking as budget dollars are stretched to maintain our current level of services and strategies are developed to avoid layoffs of town employees. Your hard work has shown positive results over the past year. We recognize this hard work and appreciate your efforts. Narissa is asking you now, however, to listen with an open mind, to apply creative thinking, to consider reprioritizing in an effort to provide an essential service which benefits every town department, the teen community, and ultimately every North Reading resident. In 2003, more than 150 concerned citizens and parents attended the police department's forum on drugs and alcohol. I was one of the people there. Mark and Judy Hall were there, Joanne Pulowski attended, and Christine Fisher and Giles Norton were also there. We were there separately that night, but with a shared concern about what North Reading teens were facing. At that time, I had already seen two of my children graduate from North Reading High School, and I have observed countless situations, as every parent has, involving teen issues where guidance, resources, and other alternatives could have made a difference. The forum was eye-opening. The town had seen several deaths, both from overdose and from alcohol-related accidents. We looked for a way to help, but there was no sign-up sheet that night. The police department ran the program again in 2004, and again we were reminded of the difficult and often overwhelming choices that our teens face each day. Again, we looked for a way to help, and again there was no sign-up sheet. But the day-to-day trials our kids faced were still out there and very, very real. Finally, in 2005, where week after week the transcript reported alcohol abuse, house break-ins, arrests for possession of heroin, drug overdoses, our discussions escalated. Hours of research were completed, and a plan was developed. The police department's call to action was answered by a committed group of North Reading citizens. North Reading Youth Services Support Association was created to address positive teen choices. One of the handouts that I gave you tonight includes a timeline, which I'll go through quickly. In February 2006, Narissa was incorporated as a nonprofit tax defense organization. August 2006, the citizens petition was placed on the warrant for October town meeting, establishing youth services as a department and the youth services director as a town employee. Petition created a gift account to be funded by Narissa for salary and benefits at no cost to the town. North Reading Youth Services Committee was also created. October 2006, Narissa presents to the Board of Selectmen outlining the 2-year commitment to fund the director's salary. Town meeting overwhelmingly approved the citizens' petition. Selectmen voted 3-2 to recommend. In March 2007, the Secretary of State's office approved town meeting results, authorizing the Youth Services Department and the committee. Members were appointed, and the hiring process started. In October 2007, the Youth Services Director was hired. When the original concept was being developed, we saw a need for everyday services and support throughout the town on the athletic fields, at the library, at Ipswich River Park, and literally in every town organization where young people have an impact. We said at that time that Narissa would provide the missing piece to the puzzle of youth organizations. Recently, I overheard a conversation with a wonderful baseball coach who had stopped by our house to turn in paperwork for an upcoming tournament. The coach came in apologizing because he was late. He said, there's a kid on the team, and, his parents are going through a divorce, and he's always late being picked up, the last one. But I don't really know what to do. I'm trying to give him a little extra time. This was truly an aha moment for me. That's exactly where youth services can help. With one phone call or email, that coach now has a resource for himself and the ball player. That one phone call is the start to making a difference in this young person's future. So that's the history of how we came to be here tonight. please, it's exactly that, it's history. Tonight, we need to focus on whether this department has proven to be an essential service to the town of North Reading. We need to look to the future. In less than 2 years, you have a handout there also with the accomplishments on there. In less than 2 years, this department and its director have charted major accomplishments. They successfully provided support, guidance, and referrals to many teens and families on drug and alcohol abuse and other destructive teen issues facing our community. They've developed a partnership with the school department to provide guidance on alcohol and drug prevention, sexual health issues, bullying, school violence, and promoting teens to make good decisions. They've developed a partnership with the police department for a court diversion program, substituting community service obligations for court appearances and arrests. 14 individuals have been referred from the police department to youth services. Unfortunately, Ed Nolan could not be here tonight. He had something come up that he had to take care of. He was going to speak on our behalf and specifically address the referral. They also coordinated referrals with many teens and their families to child and adolescent psychologists, anger management specialists, local crisis hotlines and centers, and legal counsel regarding issues of violence, bullying, criminal acts, and sexual and mental health. They've acted as interface between state agencies such as CHIMS, which is Child in Need of Services, and DCF, which is Department of Children and Families, to ensure that the families receive all the outside support available to them. They've provided support to teens having academic problems, facing suspension and expulsion for disciplinary issues in school, and in need of tutoring and mentoring. They've collaborated with schools, with Parks and Rec, with the library, police departments, the Northeast Center for Healthy Communities, as well as Andover, North Andover, and Winchester Youth Services to provide programming that promotes community service, leadership, and good decision-making. Another item in your packet shows the steadily increasing program participation from October 2007 to August of 2009. There's a total of 1,148 contacts that have been made. Those are only on the, if you will, social service side. They don't include social activities. More than $120,000 has been raised by NERISA, meeting its commitment to fund this position for 2 years. These donations came from concerned North Reading citizens and local businesses. NERISA has proven the need for these services, has collaborated with town departments to achieve mutual goals, hired a creative powerhouse to fill this position, demonstrated the commitment of the Youth Services Committee, saved money, and enhanced services in other town departments, and most importantly, has established a trusted resource for the youth community. Youth Services is indeed the missing piece to the puzzle. The town of North Reading has an obligation to all its people. We are asking the Board of Selectmen to recommend funding to complete FY10 for the Youth Services Director, funding for the FY10 salary for the Youth Services Director at October town meeting in the amount of $35,000, and to commit to budgeting these services for years to come. We're asking the Board of Selectmen now for creativity and reprioritization to search the town budget and find the spot for this essential missing piece to the puzzle. I'd like to now introduce a member of the Youth Services Committee, Frank Ferraro.
Thank you, Kathy. My name is Frank Ferraro, 15 Irwin Road, and I want to thank you for giving us this forum this evening. Thank you all again, as Kathy has said, especially for what you deal with, very difficult financial issues that you face. Forgive me for reading. I'm 5 years out of retirement as a school principal, and while I was very good at doing this off the top of my head 5 years ago, something in the advancing years has given me some doubt, so I may be referring to who knows more than I ever did. I've been a member of North Reading Youth for the past 2 years. I'm a North Reading resident for the past 14 years. I, as I said, am retired 5 years as Somerville School Principal of 37 years. I work with children for 40-plus years in a variety of settings: school, YMCA, summer camp director in New Hampshire, summer recreation programs. I volunteered Little League, Babe Ruth. I was a basketball official. I was a baseball umpire. So I've dealt with kids in every aspect of the sporting world. Most importantly, I started a youth basketball program for Somerville kids when I was 20 and a sophomore at Boston University in 1968, and I ran it for 37 years. Basketball was the vehicle back then in Somerville. That was the draw to get kids in. But I wanted it to be more than that. I wanted to teach responsibility, the importance of giving back, learning to become a productive adult, not simply by attaining the prescribed age, but by accomplishing things and building confidence. Teams did all the coaching, refereeing, scorekeeping, cleaning, and prepping the facility. I'm happy to say that 3 of those youngsters, now 50-plus, reside in North Reading and have done their share of giving back to North Reading youngsters. By name, Jack O'Neill, Ken Tuhig, and Paul DePamphilo. They learn the lessons well. I'm very proud of them. When I encounter any of these former youngsters, and they number in the thousands after 37 years, I hear the same consistent theme over and over. They continuously tell me how much their teen experience helped them become good adults and parents. 2 years ago, I read of the hiring of Jenny O'Leary. I read her biography, and I was impressed with her philosophy and plans. Soon after, I read in the transcript the need for youth council members. I volunteered. Over the past 2 years, I have been impressed with Jenny's ability to forge alliances with so many segments of this community: schools, police, recreation, libraries, businesses, in such a short time. Most importantly, I was impressed with her approach to teens, her belief that every child is important, that every child deserves and requires guidance through the teen years and into adulthood, that every child deserves a voice and a proper forum for expression and discussion, that every child deserves to learn how to acquire balance in their lives through a variety of experiences, that every child deserves to become a productive and contributing citizen, and that every child deserves to learn and appreciate giving back to others. This has become increasingly more difficult in today's world. Anyone who deals with teens today, schools, sports and activities, volunteers, parents, realize that you deal with far more than the activity at hand, and often deal with issues that go beyond your present knowledge base. That's where a youth service director comes in. The very title explains what is needed: someone to service the needs of teens and bridge the gap between home and school. Jenny has the training, the knowledge of current resources, and the ability to keep up with current research. These services are not simply available to the teens she serves, but by extension, their parents and sports and activity supervisors. Through my involvement in the Youth Council, I have been impressed by various aspects of the community that take such an interest in teens. High school principal John Bernard, last year, recognizing a school issue that was also a community issue, the increased use of drugs and alcohol, took a proactive approach, called for a series of open forums to discuss the issue openly. As a former principal, I can tell you that can be extremely risky. You open yourself up to a public discussion of how you are dealing with the issue in school. That's not a concern to a principal who cares about kids and wants to find a solution. He asked Jenny to be a presenter at one of those forums. That alliance has been a very strong alliance. High school resource officer and patrolman Tom Hatch, who participated in those forums and works closely with Jenny as well. I am impressed with his ability to identify the needs of teens and step out of the uniform of the police and be a real human being to them. Narissa, I can't say enough about this grassroots group of citizens who decided to take action in a difficult job of fundraising, an amazing $120,000 to fund this position. They did this during an especially difficult economy, and all they ask in return now is for their local government to help continue the effort. Their positive outlook reminds me of my dad, who as a 16-year-old Italian immigrant arrived in this country in 1929. When I would offer to him that he couldn't have picked a worse year to come here, he would say to me, I was taught a trade,